Joining me now is criminal defense attorney Danny Rubin. Danny, thanks so much for joining me.
Brittany, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on.
Now, even years after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, charged, and then subsequently died, there has been renewed interest in his case and calls for transparency. There are more seemingly questions than answers when it comes to this saga, and someone who people think could hold a lot of those answers is Ghislaine Maxwell, a longtime Epstein associate who, in 2021, was found guilty of heinous sex crimes, even sex crimes involving minors. She met with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche back in July. So to start off the conversation, what questions do you think she could answer? What answers does she hold? What information does she have that wasn't covered in her trial a few years back?
I think that it's important to note that when you meet with a prosecutor in the federal court system, really you're trying to get yourself out of hot water. Usually when you meet with the prosecutor, you're given some sort of immunity in talking about all the things that happened. So during her trial, it's more likely they talked about the things that the prosecutors know happened, or the things that they alleged, and that the trial was limited to what was in the indictment. It probably wouldn't be in Ms. Maxwell's interest to start talking about some of the other people that she knew that had frequented Epstein's properties, who she was affiliated with. That would probably draw the ire of those people. And at the same time, it would probably give the prosecutor more evidence with which to bury her. So I think that when they met most recently, they probably had a very frank conversation of how deep this rabbit hole went, and probably more specifically, what she could do for the president.
That's really interesting. I mean, could this put her potentially in a worse position because she was meeting with the number two at the DOJ? Or is this only in her benefit? I mean, what really does that look like?
So when you meet with the prosecutor, like I said, you get some sort of immunity agreement. You wouldn't proceed without some sort of immunity agreement, or at least some sort of proffer agreement where you're going to exchange some information, and then receive some benefit from the prosecutor, either a lighter sentence or something else. It seems that the prosecutors have already demonstrated good faith by moving Ms. Maxwell from a maximum security prison to a minimum security prison in Bryant, Texas. I think that there's a lot they want to discuss. I think they've met for about 9 hours over 2 days in the last month or so. And she probably do want to know how much she knows, and like I said again, what she can do to probably benefit this administration.
And she has been referred to Jeffrey Epstein's Madame. She has been referred to as the Bonnie to the Bonnie and Clyde when it comes to her and Epstein. So it seems like she would know a lot. And according to her attorney, she was asked about, quote, 100 different people. And apparently she didn't hold anything back. So, I mean, my question to you once again, as a defense attorney, is why would you hold those cards back in your trial? And, I mean, how much do you think she has to give them, because they did, like you said, seemingly act in good faith by moving her to a different jail?
What's a loaded question? So which which would you like me to start with?
Let's start with it. Let's start with the first one, which is, why wouldn't she implicate someone else, reveal other people in that trial? Why is she holding her cards a few years later when she's meeting with the prosecutor now, or meeting with the number two at the DOJ?
Well, let's talk about the most important thing, right? And that's what's relevant. The only thing she's allowed to talk about at trial is what's pertaining to her indictment. So bringing in a boatload of other people that may not actually deal with the terms of her indictment is only going to hurt her. And even so, it's not the time to get your whole story out. It's the time to defend yourself, saying that I wasn't with these people. I didn't do what you're accusing me of. So it's actually probably the opposite of what she's doing with the prosecutor now. Additionally, when you're dealing with a trial, the judge is going to limit whatever you can bring in to whatever is salient, whatever is relevant to the subject matter. So, as you said before, she's talking about a bunch of the people that no one talked about at trial. The judge would even let that in. I don't think also it would have helped her, because if she's going to talk about all the things that did happen, it would kind of get in the way for defenses saying that certain things didn't happen. As you know, she talked about 100 different people and their involvement. But she made very clear, or her attorneys made very clear to single out Trump as having, quote unquote, no cause for concern, or done nothing of concern relative to her and Jeffrey Epstein. I think that this is really her trying to um, deal with the prosecutor. Um, at this point, she's relegated to a 22-year sentence in a maximum security prison. She's has no real hope of getting out except to trade what she knows. And now, with the Epstein case becoming very, very big in the news, it's sort of become, like, wouldn't you say, like the embodiment of corruption? I mean, everyone looks at the Jeffrey Epstein files and is trying to think to themselves, well, how deep does this go? And Maxwell seems to have that answer. If and again, looking at what the administration has said recently, they've said something like, "Well, there are no Jeffrey Epstein files, right? There is no lists, right? First there was a list, then there's not a list. They can't find the list. Maybe they're looking at Ms. Maxwell as the list, and she seems to have a lot of information on some people that would have been on this, hypothetical list. So she's trying to take this opportunity now to trade whatever card she has in exchange, probably for either some sort of lesser deal or lesser sentence, a pardon potentially, transfer to a minimum security prison, which has already happened, probably a number of other things. It seems like there's a lot she can do for this administration.